Everything works so much better when you don't mute yourself. So I did that intro, and then I did the intro video, and then I'm looking at that chat going, no sound. I'm like, look back, and it's like, oh my God. So my apologies, but trust me that I said some of the most profound things you've ever heard come out of a human lips. And I'm sorry I got lost to the mute, but no, I was just talking about tonight's show, and I think it's a great show. I think we got a lot of fun things to get to tonight. It's just you and me tonight, so as has been the kind of the way lately, which is all right. I'm good with it, as long as you are, and I'll do my best to be as entertaining as I know how, and hopefully you'll be entertained, and how. So yeah, I unmuted, then I looked and remuted, thinking I was unmuting. I don't know. It's just the way my head works. There's all kinds of stuff going on up here, and most of it is just incredibly distracting. So anyway, we got a lot of things to get through tonight. Of course, I did remember to post a Discord question of the week, which helps to have that segment on the show. So there'll be a question of the week tonight. We're going to get to the news first. And after that, we'll dive into all the fantastic fun that you can pack into 2 full hours of paranormal entertainment. So if indeed it's entertaining, I hope it is. Good to see you all coming in the door. Thank you so much for joining me here, as always. I'd love for you to hit the like button if you're new, or if you're not new, if you're just here watching the live shows or the replays. Just hit those like buttons if you like what you see. I don't want you hitting like just because you think you should. Just if you like what you're seeing, hit the like. If you don't like what you're seeing, hit the dislike, or just don't hit nothing. It's up to you. But I'm not one to milk the crowd, so to speak. But it does help. It really does, because it pushes the show up to the recommended to help other people see it that may not know what the hell we are. And not that I know what the hell we are either, but at least more people will be aware of the fact that we're out there doing this. So it helps. And if you're not watching it live, leave a comment. That helps a bunch. And remember, check out the Paranormal Portal podcast, which is not this. This isn't it. Our podcast is an audio only show that happens on, we're hosted through Libsyn.com, and you can find our podcast on all the major podcast platforms: iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Castbox, Google Play, Spotify. I think I said Spotify before, but iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere that podcasts can be found. That's where you can find the Paranormal Portal. So love your support there as well. And if you like watching the Paranormal Portal podcast, subscribe if the platform allows it. And if you like it if you're watching on iTunes, I know you can rate it there. If you like what you're seeing, leave a rating. If not, never mind. Don't lower my stars, man. Don't lower my stars. So, I mean, it's up to you. But thank you to all of you for coming in and being a part of the journey. As always, we have a lot to get to, as I said before. You have earned the thumbs up. Thank you, Steve Humphrey. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a bunch. And good to see all you guys here. Thank you so much to our YouTube members and our mods. The mods here are amazing. The members sure help to keep things rolling. Thank you so much. I'm just happy that all of you are here. Whether you remember or not, just thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the journey. So, I guess in light of current events, since it's just you and me, and we just should probably find something to do here. So let's check out the news if you're all ready. And a special hello to TFR Network, TuneIn and TalkStream Live, and iHeartRadio, who are tuning into us also, and that is through the network. So we will have breaks tonight. Just a fair warning to anybody that's new. You're like, why do they keep taking breaks? What the hell's up with that? Get rid of the breaks. Well, this isn't just a YouTube show. This is also simulcast on 4 other networks. And so to keep in continuity with those other networks, we're going to take the half-hour breaks. So just so you know, TFR Live is, of course, the mother network that's launched the Paranormal Portal initially. So that's where the genesis of all this took place. So it's a beautiful thing. So without further ado, let's get to the news and find out just what the hell I've curated for your interest tonight. Laughter's a big part of the news. Well, hello, Just Info Arsonist. How you doing? It's no longer a mere nuisance. Now you're an Info Arsonist. That is quite a name change. But welcome to the show, and thanks for being here, of course. That's a new name. What is that? Oh, Prairie Fire. Prairie Fire. I think I've seen Prairie Fire in here before. But good to see you guys. And this is the Paranormal Portal News Desk. This is where we go over all of the news of the day, as much as I was able to pile in to one show. And hopefully it's good. And at least it's interesting. We use a site called unexplained-mysteries.com, and I love this site. And I hope you guys will go out and support them. They really do an amazing job. It's some of the most timely news articles I've ever seen online. And especially the ones that have to do with the Paranormal Portal and others. There's technology, there's astronomy, there's about every interest area you've got. You can find some news articles that they're posting over there. And it's by TK Randall's the only what do you say? The only person I've seen listed as doing all these articles. But man, that person must be a machine, because they are churning them out like crazy over there. And they have an amazing archive of stuff over there as well. So it's worth checking out, unexplained-mysteries.com. So let's get to the first one tonight. Here's a person, I think he's probably a phenomenally wonderful guy, but he's kind of everywhere, and he's kind of got some pretty solid opinions, I think, of himself. I don't know that he's arrogant or not. I really don't know the guy, so I should be careful about casting aspersions. But I know I have no doubt the guy is brilliant. But the way that he responds to things like UFOs and stuff like that, with this kind of chuckling dismissal and things like near-death experiences and such, I've seen him interviewed on several of those topics, and his candid, snarky, with this, oh, we're going to go there. Well, buckle up, because I'm going to tear it down. It really seems like his approach. And I'm talking about Neil deGrasse Tyson. And, it just bothers me whenever anybody touting the mantle of science comes in with all of these absolutes and these almost childish dismissals of this phenomena. And I think there's so much more going on here. And, obviously most of you do as well. Maybe not all of you, but most of you. And we can say, look, people are seeing and experiencing something. And given that fact alone, I don't think it's just a bunch of people with wishful thinking or memory artifacts of some kind. There must be something going on out there. And the chuckling dismissal of that stuff, I think, is really condescending. And I for those of you that are fans of Neil deGrasse Tyson, forgive me, it's not I really don't know him, so I can't speak, to his character at all. But it's just the way he comes off. It's just like, come on, really? Just, like he's on Joe Rogan a few times, and I've seen him interviewed there, and it's like, wow, he just has this chuckling dismissal, and it's almost like, well, you're one of those. Well, let me deal you a hand of truth, and goes into it when there is no truth. There's no facts. There's no established science about this stuff. There's just a bunch of ideas. So this is the article from unexplained-mysteries.com, and I have not pre-read this, so I don't know what we're going to be reading. But I saw the name, and I was like, I want to address this. So I'm addressing it. Hope you don't mind. So Neil deGrasse Tyson, we have crowdsourced an alien invasion. And look at that face. That's the one. That's the face he has on every time somebody brings up anything esoteric and spiritual. It's just like that. That's almost Cosby-esque smirk. But anyway, this is from December 16, 2022. The popular astrophysicist is certainly no fan of the term unidentified aerial phenomena or the idea of an alien invasion. While speaking to Great Patrol's Will Saber Courtney in an interview about electrostatic timepieces recently, it wasn't long before the conversation turned to the subject of UFOs. Unsurprisingly, Tyson remained somewhat critical of the modern UFO scene. Who are they fooling, he said. Unidentified aerial phenomena? It's a UFO. They're just trying to rebrand it. I agree. I agree with that. What the hell's wrong with them? They're just rebranding it. They're not fooling anybody. Well, he then went on to criticize the quality of the recently published videos and images of unidentified objects spotted by the U.S. Navy pilots, such as the infamous Tic Tac UFO. Given the incredible high-resolution images we've been able to take from the surface of Mars, as well as the accomplishments of launching the James Webb Space Telescope, he argued, how is it that the only images we have of these objects are so low resolution and blurry? You're telling me there's an alien in front of your airplane and the best you can do is a fuzzy monochromatic tic-tac. Really? He said. And it's in our atmosphere. It's there. The plane can see it. Really? Tyson also commented on the fact that with 6 billion smartphones in the world, it would be expected that if there were alien visitors on Earth, images and footage would be all over the internet by now. We have crowdsourced an alien invasion, he said. Crowdsourced it. If an alien is talking to you, taking you into a flying saucer, you can stream that. In the era of the smartphone, there's no such video. Again, it's just, obviously he's never, at least even seriously or even neutrally looked into the phenomenon, because most times when people are being brought into alien spacecraft, it's not like they're walking in. They're floating in. They can't move, and or they've been sucked up, or they went blank. They missed time. Something zapped them, and the next thing they know, they're making corn puffs in their cereal bowl. I mean, it's just this crazy sequence of events. It's not like people are volunteering, like, hey, yeah, I'll come in and have a look. Mind if I stream this? It's like, no, that's not how this works. Now, additionally, the Tic Tac videos, those are targeting computer images. Those are forward-looking infrared generation, whatever, that are on those aircraft. They're not meant to take selfies and to take real high-resolution images. They're meant to be able to lock a missile on and shoot. They are targeting reticles, basically, assisted with forward-looking infrared. It's not like they're looking on, making a wall hanging of a UFO. These are just strictly meant to serve a purpose in order to allow the pilot to shoot, negative things out of the sky, or opposing factions out of the sky. They're not meant for, creating your new Instagram post. So I think his arguments are absolutely ridiculous. First of all, it's not looking at it in any real sense. I don't think aliens suck people up under their full faculty. I don't think they maybe trust us enough. Maybe they have to kind of disable us before they bring us on, because they don't know if we're going to go absolutely wild in their craft and start slapping these little midgets around like nunchucks. I mean, we just don't know anything about how they look at us. So sure, they're going to err on the side of caution. It's like you don't take an inmate from one jail to another and just ask him to get in the car. You shackle them up, and you're careful, because they're potentially dangerous. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if there are extraterrestrial intelligences watching us, that they're going, man, these people are really dangerous. So yeah, I mean, there's probably really good reason that they make sure that we can't move and can't stream it for a YouTube audience. So I don't know. Anyway, again, it just proved my point. His just comic dismissal of this phenomena that's ongoing and has changed the lives of thousands of people, and usually not for the better. These people aren't usually in a good way after they've had these experiences. So I don't know. It's my 2 cents, take it or leave it. But yeah, I don't know. That guy. I'm glad he's consistent though, because I started up with all these criticisms of him, and then true to form, that's exactly what the article said. So spot on, Neil. Keep up the good work. So, all right, let's get to the next one here on the Paranormal Portal News Festival of Fun as we dive into the next one. And here is another one having to do with aliens. This is Unexplained Mysteries brings us the next one. And this is, I find this interesting. I don't know why. But anyway, aliens may only be interested in Earth's technology, study claims. What the hell did they study? Was there a survey going on through all the starships circling our Earth? How did they study this? A new paper, God, how long is this? No, it's okay. A new paper put forward a new theory to explain why you have yet to hear from any extraterrestrial civilizations. The question of whether we are alone in the universe remains one of the biggest philosophical conundrums of our time. While it seems almost inconceivable that our civilization is alone in the cosmos, the fact still remains that we have yet to see any evidence to the contrary. I disagree, but anyway. The Fermi paradox, which highlights the contradiction between the likely existence of extraterrestrial civilizations and the fact that we have still never encountered any. Again, I disagree. Seems to suggest that either there are no aliens out there, or they're so rare that it is unlikely we would ever come across them. Now, in a new paper, astrophysicist Omri Wandel from the Hebrew Institute or University of Jerusalem has put forward another possibility. What if life in the universe is so common that intelligent extraterrestrials are only interesting in communicating with civilizations in possession of advanced technology? Well, that's kind of the Star Trek thing, right? Like the lore of Star Trek is the Vulcans never bothered contacting the Earth until they picked up a warp signature from our planet. And then it was like, oh, well, they hit that benchmark. Let's go make our introduction, because we were going to then be a spacefaring race. Could that be more likely? And maybe it is. Maybe it is. I mean, why would they want to get to know us when we're lobbing bombs at each other all the time? It's like, yeah, I don't think they're ready for the the picnics. It says, let's see. While we certainly do have technology, the problem could be that the evidence of this is likely to be particularly difficult to detect over the vast distances between inhabited worlds. While megastructures in orbit around stars would be detectable over long distances, the type of technology we possess may not be, especially given that we've only been sending out radio waves, which are limited to traveling at the speed of light, for a relatively short period of time. Unless there's someone in our galactic neighborhood within a few dozen light years listening out for these types of signals, they're unlikely to be aware of our technology at all. It could also be that our technology is simply too primitive to be of any interest. Then they end up saying the exact same thing I said. In Star Trek, the United Federation of Planets refuses to make first contact with a civilization until it has reached a certain level of development, i.e. warp drive. Who knows? Perhaps there are aliens out there with similar principles. Well, sure. Why bother with us while we're basically very archaic and battling each other constantly? And if we're basically stuck on our rock, so to speak, well, they got to let us sort it out, I guess. And then maybe when we look like we're going to be traveling to the stars and we could be in their neighborhood, then they're going to get a little more interested. It's like, well, now we gotta go have them meet and greet and talk about the rules. So it stands to reason. I think they're here. They're watching. I mean, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that they are absolutely here. Personally, I have no question, but I can't expect everybody else to have that same confidence without having had an experience. When you see that, then it's like, wow, they're here. They really are. So it's a hell of a thing to go from belief in the possibility of something and seeing that something. And it was an incredible experience for me, but I don't doubt it. I know they're here. I think they're watching. They're just watching and waiting and see what we do, maybe. I don't know. Hard to say, but time will tell, I guess. That's the next one up. Let's get to the next one still, and this one is also from unexplained-mysteries.com. This is taking the Santa thing to a whole new level. Yeah, Santa's supposed to know if kids are good or bad. I don't know, by his magic crystal ball and his big chart or whatever. He's already got a list, and he's checking it twice, is what I always heard. But apparently, some people are cranking up the technology just to push that envelope a little further. And let's bring this to this article. Santa's grotto uses polygraph to test if kids have been naughty or nice. So they're strapping kids up to polygraphs. I don't know what the hell Santa's grotto is, but it sounds kind of frightening. This is from December 15th, 2022. 2 shopping centers in England have rolled out a rather novel approach to their Santa grotto attractions this Christmas. How does Father Christmas know that a child is worthy of receiving his gift at his grotto? He gets them to take a lie detector test. At least, that is, if they happen to be visiting him in Westfield, London, or Westfield, Stratford City shopping centers this festive season. Nicknamed Father Fibmus, due to his unusual approach to gauging worthiness, Paul Bramley, who serves as the expert polygraph examiner on Santa's behalf, asked kids between the ages of 6 and 12 a number of questions to see if he can catch them out. The questions, which range from when was the last time you ate a vegetable to have you been keeping your bedroom tidy, are certainly the sorts of things children might lie about. Depending on the answer, a device will return a result of tinsel truth or ask again or festive fib. Those who tell the truth could be in for an extra present from Santa, while those who lie might be instead ordered to eat more Brussels sprouts this festive season. Well, that'll be a good way to, it used to be enough to just have a Krampus running around, but now you just strap them to lie detectors. You've been good, really? Look into the light. Let's go. I don't know. Technology, it's everywhere. Let's get to the next one. Santa's lie detector test. Polygraph them. Why not? All right. Did you pull your daughter's or did you pull your sister's hair? Let's go. Answer the question. All right. Next up. This one is also brand new. Oops, that's a little bigger than I wanted, but there we go. This comes from unexplained-mysteries.com. Mysteries Revisited, the Falkland Hill UFO incident from December 10th, 2022, again by TK Randall. This person is just amazing. Everything posted there is TK Randall. All right, back in 1996, a mother, her son, and her friend encountered something unexplained in a remote part of Scotland. How long is this? No, it's fine. It says, the peculiar series of events began on September 23rd of that year when the woman Mary and her son Peter and her friend Jane drove from Falkland to the village of Freuche for some coffee. As they drove along, they spotted what appeared to be a dark triangle craft in the sky with two lights on it. The trio stopped briefly to observe it before continuing on their journey. On the return trip a short time later, they witnessed the same object again. After hovering for a while, the mysterious craft sped across the valley and disappeared. Upon returning to Jane's house and explaining what they had seen to her daughter, Susan, they decided to venture back out and take her along the ride so that she could see it for herself. Retracing their route, it wasn't long before they spotted a white light and a blue glow over some nearby woods. Hoping to get a closer look, they drove along a narrow country road and again witnessed the phenomenon, which this time was sending out beams of red, blue, and green light. Sounds Christmassy. Then moving around in front of the light, they saw what appeared to be a number of figures moving about in an unknown structure illuminated by the glow of the main object. After returning home and reporting what they'd seen to a UFO investigation hotline, they decided to venture back once more at around 11:30 p.m. at night to see if the object was still there. This time they saw a flashing light high up on a hill nearby, and upon reaching the site of the previous encounter, again witnessed the strange figures moving around in the field. Then, without warning, an anomalous mist started to fill the area. According to the witnesses, it seemed to contain cocoons made of fibrous material, with each containing a small entity. Terrified, they sped away, observing a bright blue flash behind them as they went. Even today, no definitive explanation for what was observed that night has ever been found. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the news. Let's get to the break, I guess. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Kind of ran into the break there a little bit, but it's okay. I hope you guys enjoyed the news. Hope you guys left the news feeling more knowledgeable and fulfilled than when you started watching it. That's always my objective. It's it's not always the greatest news, but I bet you a lot of it you never heard before. I know I haven't. Most of it I was like, really? Wow. But we got done with the news. So now we're going to move to a segment that I love doing all of the segments, to be honest with you. There's no one favorite thing about these shows that I love more than the others, but I am really excited about the amount of people that have been taking part in the discussions on our Discord channel. And if you're not familiar with our Discord channel, we've got one, and you're welcome to be a part of it as well. So if you use Discord or you don't mind learning Discord, you could be a part of it. We'd love to have you over there because, by God, we love us a good discussion, and we're always posting video links of other shows and stuff in the discussion threads, and it's been a great thing. Like, you guys have introduced me to a bunch of stuff that I wasn't aware of before, and even other shows that I wasn't aware of before. So I appreciate that because there's literally tons of stuff out there. I'm going to put a link to our Discord in the YouTube chat here. If anybody wants to join our Discord, that's how you do it. Click that link. If you don't already have the client, you may have to download it. I'll put it in TFR as well. If anybody between Gemini and BAM are interested, or if you're already in there. I think Gemini's already in there though. But it's there for your pleasure to join in and be a part of it. So this brings us to the segment we're going to get into now, which is Discord question of the week. All right, everybody, this is the Discord question of the week segment here on the Paranormal Portal, and this is where basically this is our Discord community here. This is the Discord app, in case you've never seen it before. This is what it looks like when you join the Paranormal Portal thread, which I posted a link to. Then you can simply just look down here on the left-hand side. These are all the different parts of our Discord group. There's news, donations, rules, admin mods section here. Discord tutorials are here. So if you're new to Discord, you can click this and look at a few videos that kind of walk you through how to use Discord if you're not familiar with it. And below that is the questions of the week. And below those is all of the different chat threads. There's a general Bigfoot, Dogman, ghosts, UFO, extraterrestrials, cryptids, and strange phenomena is there. So, and there's also some voice channels down here, but I've never seen anybody use them. So those are available as well to those of you that choose to engage in that type of communication. You're certainly welcome to. But that's all right here on the Discord community if you want to join it and become a part of it. Look up about 225,000 gallon fish tank that exploded in Berlin, Germany. Oh, well, I'll have to look that up maybe for tomorrow's show if I remember. Or if you have a link, just email it to me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Certainly something we could discuss. Yep. Good evening to you, Barbara Mora. Good to meet you. Thanks for coming in. I'm happy you're here too. And I saw Bad Boy was actually in the live chat. He's been a longtime supporter on the YouTube channel, but he hasn't made it to the live shows too often. So good to see you and all of you guys. I guess we could do shout outs quick before we get into the Discord question of the week, because I haven't done that yet. And there's a lot of you guys here. So if you want to shout out, you got to chat in the chat, because that's what populates my participants list. I don't have a list of just people that are watching. So if you don't really want to shout out, then just kick back and continue watching. But if you want one, chat, type something in the chat, because that'll put your name on my list. Right now, the name's about 20 people long. So it's growing. More people are typing in the chat. So far, we got Barbara Mora here. Good to see you, Barbara. Thanks again for coming in. D. Oceans, how you doing, D? Deb Varner, our very own Paranormal Portal Psychic. Father Mike Driscoll. That's fantastic. Good to see you, Father Mike. Ghost Magnet is here. Hoggle is here. How you doing, Hoggle? Hi, Ghost Magnet. I am Pam is here. Hi, Pam. Just Info Arsonist. That's of course. Oh, someone else popped in. Oh man, Hardwick Big D just popped in. Good to see you. David Hettensheimer popped in. Man, this makes it tough. Let's see. Luna Moonicorn is here. How you doing, Luna? Maggie is here. Hi, Maggie. Rachel Gets It Right is here. One of our wonderful mods, along with Elaine. Elaine's here as well. Ruger Ridge is here. Sugar Britches is here. Trace Linnell, great to see all of you guys. Thank you. Wonder Woman. Weapon X5 is here. Someone else just popped in. Who is it? Hoggle, I got you. I don't know. Ghost Magnet? Did I say Ghost Magnet? I don't know. I think I got everybody now as I'm looking at the list, but that's our active chatters here so far. And so they are participating. That's why they're on the participants list. But thank you to all of you who are here watching. If you're just kicking back, I know that Farm is here, but his hands were busy, so I'm not sure what he's doing with them, but they're busy, he said. I'm just kidding. But anyway, thank you to everybody that's watching, and thank you for all the support and love that you guys give me. That means the world. So the Discord question of the week is, again, to reiterate a little bit, it's a question I pose to people in our Discord community, and those of you in chat right now, you're welcome to respond. But if you do, put like at Paranormal Portal, or just put Paranormal Portal at the front, because that gives me an orange box that I can see more easily when I'm just scanning for any active chat responses. But the question this week kind of came up, I guess, as a kind of a footnote to what we were discussing on the last show, but it's for the Friday show. Question of the week: giants are global legend. Histories around the world speak of these legendary beings and the chaos they caused. Many flood legends speak of the purging of these beings from the face of the earth. History also speaks of bones unearthed that were much larger than human beings but are hidden away and disavowed. Do you believe there were giants which roamed the earth? Do you believe they are still around? And finally, if you do believe they are real, why is their presence in our world being suppressed? And that was actually a question that my cousin asked me as we were talking about it. My cousin Paul. I was like, I'm not really sure, because there are certainly plenty of references in them in ancient histories and legends. So why are they suddenly a fabrication of drifting minds? I don't know. But the first response we got is from K-Love, who also included a link, which is cool. I didn't have a chance to check out the link, but K-Love says, I'm a believer giants once roamed the earth. I think they died off. I definitely feel information is still suppressed. I visited Lovelock, Nevada, for Thanksgiving dinner year 2009 with friends who lived there. Giants were never talked about or advertised. I never knew such info existed, or I would have explored the findings. I will check things out on my next trip to Nevada. Yeah, in the future. In my opinion, the Smithsonian and others played a role of information suppression all over the world, maybe to control the human race in only believing in a narrative. Yep, and then of course there's a link, and that's true. I don't know a lot about it. ZX81V2 says history equals written by the winners, myth/legend written by the losers. That might be a good point. Hard to say for sure. Rachel, one of our mods here on YouTube as well. Yes, I believe there were giants who roamed the earth. I do think they're still around in very remote places in the world, such as Nani National Park Reserve in the Northwest Territories of Canada. There's 4 canyons where giants could live. Their presence is being repressed because, like Bigfoot, people would foolishly attempt to hunt or just track them. There's hundreds of videos of tourists encountering known animals, moose, bison, bear, and it never goes well for the tourists. Yeah, that's true. I actually cringe and I physically shudder when I see those videos of people visiting Yellowstone, and they're walking out among the bison like it's a petting zoo, and it's like, are you freaking insane? I mean, those things could stomp you into mud, and without even breaking a sweat. I mean, they are so large and so incredibly powerful. I saw this one video. There's a little kid getting thrown literally like a milk carton in the air, and it's like, oh my God. And he's out there with his dad and stuff and family, and as soon as that bison charges, they all just kind of split, and this kid's on his own going, yeah, and of course, this is a big, huge animal. It's going to catch a little kid, and it does that. I don't know what the damage to the kid was, but it just made me so sad that that's people's reaction. It's like, oh, there's bison. Let's go get a photo for Instagram. That'd be great. And no, it's not great. You need a big lens. Barbara Mora says, it changes the religious dogma throughout history. Well, maybe. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of religious references to giants in the Bible alone, among other religious observations. So I don't know why they want to hide it, but that's, you could be right. Maybe it does change the narrative. But let's get it further here. ZX81V2 says, written in the Christian Bible, there were giants back then. Goliath and Og and his brothers. Yeah, Og. I guess that's Og. And Lars says, yeah, I know giants exist, both in the past and present. And there's kind of a conversation going between Lars and ZX81V2. Goliath was the last of the Nephilim documented, and Lars says, no, there was one after him. Ehud killed him. And then they got that straightened out. The children of Ammon were giants. Anunnaki, ZX81V2 says, Anunnaki were tall fellas also. If you go that path, worth reading into some Stitchen's work, but don't take it all to truth value. He made some stuff up, but not all. Anunnaki and Sanskrit writings fascinated me. Everything has truth somewhere in it, even the lies. Yeah, that's a good point. Mystic Shepherdess says, I've never heard of Goliath referred to as a Nephilim, but since the predecessors of Anak, from which the line Goliath came, were indicated to have come from Nephilim, so that is an interesting tidbit. Surprised more people have not mentioned this. Thank you. Interesting. So that's kind of the beauty of chat communities like this, encapsulated. Hold on, got a cough. And that is the fact that we can help each other. I mean, my knowledge grows immensely just by reading what you guys are writing. One Door to Nephilim Rabbit Trail, and there's a link. Oh man, sorry, I got another cough. Here's another one from Mystic Shepherdess, and one more trail of Nephilim. Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World is a fun rabbit hole in general. And then there's some notes from his video. Yeah. So that's, regarding the Nephilim, which is kind of a side discussion, actually. This is dealing again with the Anunnaki, and there's probably merit to discussing the Anunnaki in this, and that they were apparently very large physically compared to the people. Whether the people were created by them or not, I'm not going to get into that, but that is a claim that's out there. But it's ZX81V2 says, Anunnaki land here. They look around, developing life forms, and start messing. The Nephilim arrives at the same time, and these were worker caste life forms, created to do the work of mining Earth as a resource. After a time, Nephilim used to do the work and rebelled against the Anunnaki, so Enki and Enlil created Protman and the classic Cryptid forms. This worked for a while, but the resources used to create these clones was costing more, so they needed to make the creatures they created the ability to breed, and man was created. Enlil didn't like the new humans, and they were too noisy and breed too fast. Anyway, that's a little background on the Nephilim and stuff, and some of Stitchen's work. But Ghost Magnet 81 says, I'm only familiar with what I was taught in Sunday school, with that Goliath was a giant and David killed him, one of the foundational stories of the Bible. Why would they have that story in there and teach it to the youngest? Why is it a foundational story? Why are we laughed at for believing in Bigfoot and not for believing in giants like Goliath? There is more evidence of Bigfoot than Goliath, just one story as opposed to 1,000+ hair footprints, footage, etc. These the things we allow society, science, religion, and governments to dictate as truth amazes me sometimes. The lengths that they go to create or destroy the narrative seems nefarious and begs many questions. I don't have a problem believing in Goliath walked the earth, or still do somewhere, but I was indoctrinated very early to believe in such things. So yeah, that's a good point. I guess, it is something that is taught to kids in Sunday schools and such. I remember I went to Sunday school, heard about David and Goliath, and, that whole story. But Ruger Ridge says, I think there's enough evidence to support there was giants at one time. Could they still be somewhere in the world? I don't see why not. Still a lot of remote places man rarely goes. Mystic Shepherdess comes back and says, I'm still trying to figure out why there would be a big cover-up about giants. I also noticed how Graham Hancock, Ancient Apocalypse, great series, by the way, Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix, with Graham Hancock, and some of the stuff he brings up is just fascinating. And I don't know, I know he takes him on the chin a lot from the scientific community, but that kind of makes me like him even more. The fact that he's speaking what truth he finds, whether or not that falls into the narrative of science or not. And I think that that's admirable. You got to question. Science is supposed to question. But, I think Graham Hancock's episodes are awesome. And believes giants to be actual myth, which I was fairly surprised about. For anyone who's not seen the show, nor the Joe Rogan interviews, he believes there was a huge apocalypse moment that caused the huge flood, which he essentially believes humanity is a lot older than mainstream science has allowed, though that will likely begin to change. But anyway, I mention him because he is someone well aware of how set in ways scholars and science can be. Are egos truly the only thing on the line? One would think that the discovery of giant bones and looking into myths as compass to our history would be exciting and drawing money for these fields. Excitement plus discovery equals money usually. So why not with the giants in the field of human history? It seems that there is a lot of fear about discovering a possible alternative human timeline than what people have been force-fed in school. Fear and ego make giant bones, giant history go bye-bye. Yeah, maybe. And that's kind of what I was saying before, oddly enough, is that there's a prejudice, there's a bias in scientific inquiry. And the bias is towards what their established stories are right now. They have a bias to find proof to continue that narrative. Why? I don't know. I don't understand why that is, but it is. It's very clear in many discussions with scientific figures. There's that one scientist, I forget the guy's name, but he looks like he could be a ex-member of the Monkees. He's just this soft-spoken English guy, but he does science shows and stuff, I think a lot on the BBC. But he was talking about how there's obviously no ghosts because we have not found any particles in our particle accelerator experiments to justify what ghosts are made of. It's like, okay, well, I think they're still discovering things from the particle colliders. They don't just have it all tapped out now. It's not like, well, we smashed a bunch of stuff together and we've got everything mapped now, so good night. They're building bigger particle colliders to find out more. So again, there's that hubris, there's that prejudice. Well, I don't believe in ghosts, so neither does science because I'm a scientist. So, I think, again, it starts with a bias, and that's the problem with science inquiry at this point. Part of the thing I would speak to, though, is that it is more than egos, though, because they are the authorities. They're considered the authorities. And so it's not just a matter of ego, it's a matter of power. If suddenly science was turned on its head and suddenly scientists had to acknowledge, look, I guess we just really don't know. All this other stuff was not quite right. It's tough as hell to change that paradigm in scientific circles because they are the experts. They get to tell us what's going on. It's a power thing, I think, more than anything. I don't think it's ego as well, but that's based on the fact that they are considered the authorities, and power is a very corrupting thing. It really is. So ZX81V2 says the only way to learn something new is to work outside the box. I would kind of agree, yeah. Maggie M10 said, agreed with Ruger Ridge. I was about to type the same. Luna Moonicorn came in and at 7:34, right after the show started. Maybe the Sasquatch are the descendants of the giants, and that's why it's all covered up. I don't know. I heard the Smithsonian has giant skeletons. Maybe they know. Perhaps acknowledging their existence in the past or present rather, makes it harder to control the narrative of humans as the smartest top species. Kind of like the fear that acknowledging UAP and possible life on off planet has caused concern that it would cause religious uproar and break everyone's paradigm. Well, you know, I agree that there is quite a bunch of people that believe that. Hardwick in the chat says, they hide the existence of giants because it doesn't fit the narrative they want us to believe. Well, I don't know. You know, I think it's the narrative they want to believe more than they want us to believe. They want to tell us what the narrative is. And once they have to acknowledge that there's holes in their plan, then it becomes, I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree with you. But I think it's also deeper than that because they are authorities. They're the experts. These are scientists. They can tell you how things work. And that is a powerful position to be in. And our culture vaults experts to the top of the heap. They are celebrities of sorts. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's a celebrity. Not because of any huge individual achievements, other than he's an incredibly intelligent guy. He is. And he's very personable and charismatic. So he gets to be a spokesman. He gets to be a spokesperson for the scientific community. And so that's a powerful position as well. And they get to say what is and what isn't because they're given that kind of renown. And so that's, I think, a huge problem. But some great feedback on these things. I really appreciate all of the contributions you guys are making on these discussions. You can, and again, don't ever be afraid to, weigh in with your opinion, because there's no wrong answers. I will say that I think that acknowledging that, religions may feel threatened by the changing of a narrative as well is probably valid. But I think, even in the Bible, for the Christian faith, it talks about how there are many things Jesus did which were never written, and even the world itself couldn't contain the books of his deeds. I'm very, very much paraphrasing that, but there's so much more. And if is the mind of God able to be compressed within one book? Is the whole scope and measure of what the divine is able to be put into, several hundred pages? Or, I don't know how many pages the full Bible is, but this is just one example. And I don't think so. But, again, I think a lot of religions have that, that caveat that, God is bigger than all of this, but, here's things to work on. So I don't know. Father Mike can maybe speak to that better than I can, but I think that's incredibly interesting. So a special thank you to everybody that contributed to this discussion. I really do appreciate it, because I think it's fascinating. There are still claims of people seeing giants. This is not an ancient phenomenon by any measure, although it's extraordinarily rare. As much rarity as things like cryptids and Bigfoot sightings are, or at least the ones we hear about, giant stories are even rarer. And maybe it's because the people that see giants are even less likely to come forward and say, I saw a giant, because there's lots of Bigfoot stories out there, and it's just pretty common nowadays. But how many giant stories do you hear? Very, very, very few. Because it's one thing to acknowledge there might be an undiscovered primate or hominid out in the forests of our world, but that concept is gaining steam and is really perpetuated whole communities of inquiry into that. But how many giant communities are there? Not many. If any, hardly any. And so that's still kind of way out there for people. But my opinion is, if you can believe in ghosts, if you can believe in Bigfoot, if you can believe in UFOs, then how much further is it to say, well, I believe in giants? Well, I believe they could be out there. I don't know what's out there in this world. I know that doing this show, again, the one thing I've learned is never judge anything. Anything is possible. So we're going to head to the hour break, folks. But this has been the Discord question of the week. So thank you for your participation. And that brings us to the break, everybody. So we're going to go to the break, and we'll be right back in just a couple minutes for the second hour of our show tonight. Don't go away.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking all the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're into hour number 2 now. It's cruising away. The night is just cruising. Father Mike, who is a ordained Catholic priest and exorcist, is in the chat, and he said, no Catholic traditions, one way or the other, regarding extraterrestrials, their possible existence, no contradictions to Catholic doctrines. And he says, also goes on to say, I had a very traditional instructor in the seminary who said he thinks we will meet many interesting ETs in heaven. Yeah, I imagine. I can't imagine the scope and breadth of what it is, to be what it is that exists in the universe. And perhaps, we're all heading to the same place. Why not? How big is the divine? Well, I don't pretend to know. I know it's bigger than anything I can conceptualize. So, all right. So we are in the next hour, as I said. I should mention that the phone lines are open. If anyone wants to call in, has something paranormal of their own that they'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can call in at 720-923-0500. Those are the numbers for fun here on the Paranormal Portal, and I will do my best to keep an eye on it. But they are connected. I did remember that tonight. I muted my whole intro, but I remembered that. So the phone lines are live. If anybody wants to call in, that's perfectly fine. But I've got some more fun stuff to get to. And right now speaking of extraterrestrials, we're going to dive into an article about meeting some strange extraterrestrial creatures. And I guess this is kind of the bizarre part of it, the extraterrestrial phenomena. And I'm talking mostly about encounter stories of people encountering what they believe to be extraterrestrials, or at least things that aren't of this world, or at least the world that we know. And so could they be extra-dimensional? Maybe. Are they extraterrestrial? Maybe. I don't know. But what I do know is that they're the physical descriptions described in many, many encounter stories are incredibly diverse. Like commonly you hear about the gray aliens. That's a kind of a staple in the UFO lore, and not, I don't mean lore in a condescending, dismissive way. I just mean in UFO tales. The grays are, of course, a really prevalent type of entity that's encountered in many, many different stories from people who have come face to face with them. But there's a lot of these other strange ones. Just to give you a sampling, there's, of course, technological looking things like some kind of automatons or robotic beings that are encountered. There is diminutive, almost action figure size things that came out of Malaysia. And in Malaysia, there was a whole rash of encounters with these several inch tall extraterrestrial beings and their craft, to the point where some kids saw them land and went over and watched them. And these little small people or beings, they look like people, but very, very small, got out and were hanging up equipment or little pieces of equipment in the foliage around where they landed. And the kids saw that and one of the kids decided to pick one up, and I guess it had some kind of ray gun or something, and it zapped the kid a few times and gave him like little bee sting welts from this weapon that it shot at the kid. And of course the kid bummed out and put it down. But yeah. And apparently there was a whole rash of sightings, including in a schoolyard full of kids with adults there. So of these little diminutive craft that were sighted. So we don't know all of which is transpiring here. We just don't. I think, I don't know if it was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they showed that armada coming towards the Earth, and it's just this amazingly huge technological armada coming to attack the planet, and then they come down and they're coming to the surface of the Earth. You see the Earth appear in the distance and this huge armada is moving in, and they're, you know, hell bent for leather, and they come in and basically a dog sitting in a house, and he goes out and eats the whole armada. It's like, it's that tiny. You know, could there be micro beings? Maybe. You know, why not? I don't know. Anything's possible. So just some curiosities, I guess. But we're going to go to an article now that I've been teasing for a while, and this is from a site called How and Wise, and it's howandwise.com. Italian woman met two small aliens, and this is the headline of which is, two tiny aliens with rabbit teeth wanted to become friends with an Italian woman in 1954. And this is one of those strange ones. I've never heard other claims like this, other people encountering rabbit-teethed aliens. That's a first for me. So let's dive into it and see what's going on. And this is written by Vicky Verma 2 years ago on howandwise.com. It says, Rosa Lotti Dainelli, 40 years old, a mother of four, lived on a farm in a wooded area near the village of Sanina in the Italian province of Arezzo, the Tuscany region. On November 1st, 1954, Rosa saw two aliens that emerged from a UFO. So she actually witnessed this, and this is her picture of her. For those of you on YouTube, you can see the picture of her with her family. And it says, this happened when Dainelli was walking to the altar of the Madonna the Wanderer with a bunch of carnations, and suddenly she saw some kind of barrel-shaped object which immediately aroused her curiosity. It looked like a long spindle, almost 2 meters high, that resembled two bells, put together and wrapped in something like leather. Then two tiny creatures appeared on the surface of this aircraft. They were friendly and had human-like faces. They were dressed in completely closed gray suits. Their equipment also included some kind of short capes or carnasoles, which were fastened to the collar with small star-like buttons. Helmets glittered on their small heads. The little aliens acted energetically and lively, and Dainelli thought the aliens were Chinese because they were speaking short words beginning with L, like loi, lai, lo, etc. And there's a depiction of it. I don't know, that doesn't look like two bells, but looks like two cones or megaphones. It says, their eyes were beautiful and full of intelligence, and their faces were normal. Only the upper lip appeared to be slightly curved in the center, so it seemed as if they were always smiling. According to Dainelli, their teeth were short and thin like a rabbit's, but the ears were non-visible because of red-colored leather like helmets. The older-looking alien was constantly laughing and seemed to want to make contact with Dainelli, but she got scared when he snatched the carnations from her hands. Being surprised and embarrassed, Dainelli reprimanded him with all the severity she was capable of, and this creature returned her two flowers. When the aliens went to their capsule, Dainelli seized the moment and ran away. She rushed headlong through the entire forest, and when she finally turned around to look at the mysterious creatures, they were already gone. So, a strange story. I don't know. It shows them like pulling on her and one reaching for the carnations, but it just sounds like they grabbed the carnations like, oh, those for us? Thanks. That's really nice. Like they didn't understand. It's like she was expecting them or something. Like, wow, they knew we were coming. Cool. But it's a strange one because I've never heard another story like that. So very weird, very bizarre. I don't know. Again, it's a one-off. It's a one-off story. What is the possibility this is legitimate? Well, I don't know. I mean, could there be little diminutive creatures with rabbit-like teeth? Maybe. I don't know. It's very strange. Very strange. But that's what I'm talking about with these encounter stories. Some of them are just so far removed from everything else. Is it possible that this is the first time that this intelligence ever made it here? Maybe. It could be. Maybe they haven't been back since because they don't like carnations. I don't know. Or they figured, these people are huge. I don't like this. Any number of ideas. I don't know. But it was actually published in a paper or a publication. I don't know what La Domenica del Corriere is, but could be a newspaper, I guess. Anyway, strange story, just a one-off, but I think those are very interesting. Now, does it, since her claim is so much different than so many others and almost all others to a significant degree, does that invalidate it? I don't think so. I just think we are in a universe teeming with life, and maybe sometimes just new things wander in just to check things out. Maybe this was one time they decided, well, let's just meet the locals. Maybe they've been here, just hiding. If they're that tiny, it wouldn't be hard. And, also, you think of things like stories of gnomes and elves and dwarves and things like that. And could those just be misrepresentations of some visiting intelligence? Maybe they're not from here. Maybe they are from here. And they just live separated from us by whatever means or measures, we don't know. Maybe they're much more technologically advanced. Maybe they're from the Hollow Earth, for all we know. Is there a Hollow Earth? Maybe. Again, the claims are so vast and so, I don't know, it's almost unbelievable how many ideas there are about the nature of our reality. And I don't pretend to know any of them for sure. I just know my own reality, and it's not quite this magical, but I've had some pretty cool things that I've experienced personally, so I can't complain. But I don't know what I would do if I was just suddenly out in the woods in a craft landed and little people got out. I'd like to think that I'd be brave enough to go up and go, hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming by. But the idea, there's enough horror stories out there of people getting experimented on and stuff. And it's like, I'm not feeling like being the new test tube baby in this deal. So I'm going to wave out of this one. I probably would do that one, but it would be neat, I guess, to see them, but maybe not so neat to interact with them. I don't know. I don't feel like getting mind wiped or anything like that. I kind of like what's in my head right now for the most part. All the stuff going on in my head, I just would rather keep, I think. But it's an interesting story. Again, I can't make any claims about it. It's just one of those strange one-offs, but I find those incredibly interesting. I'm going to revisit an article for the last 12 minutes of this section, and then we're going to come back and do some cryptids from the Cryptid Corner with some stories from Phantoms and Monsters, which is Lon Strickler's site, and we're going to dive into a few of those for the last half hour of the show because, God, things are just flying. All right. So we have been going through for several days, and we're going to continue because, by God, I'm going to get through this article come hell or high water. This is from factinate.com is the site that I got this one from. And just checking the phones. We're good. Okay. But it's kind of a Reddit aggregate article where they go and just scrape Reddit threads for responses to questions that have to do with their topic. So, and perhaps they even pose the questions. I don't mean to invalidate that they were part of the whole process, but these are user submitted comments from Reddit. And the article is from factinate.com, and it's an experience, unforgettably creepy moments. And we're on number 42. And not all of these are paranormal, just for the record, just to put it out there first and foremost. Not all of these are paranormal. But this one is number 42, self-pranking that's rare. Quite a few years ago, I found myself working at a historical gale, a.k.a. a prison museum. Hi. Hi, Pikachu. He's going to want to go to the restroom. Or out of the room anyway, but he's going to have to be patient. Just wait, buddy. As a guide / administrator, this place was one of the oldest buildings in town and had quite the reputation amongst ghost hunters, so it was always spooky work in there. The early days had been fairly violent, and there had been quite a few losses, including state-ordered hangings, so there were plenty of ghostly stories passed around. While I did see some odd things during my time there, the building was old, a haven for local wildlife, and far from windproof, so any stories had to be taken with a grain of salt. We also had several dozen mannequins set up in traditional poses. A few gathered in the courtyard, some in the cells, and it was always fun to hear the gasps from the tourists when they saw the first one looming in the hallway. Well, now to the story. As this was primarily a tourist town, the winter months were quite quiet, and I could go for hours without seeing another person. One day I'd lucked out and managed to get a late closing one night and an early morning opening the next day. Both closing and opening required a torch, as it was pitch black at this time of year, and lights were not installed throughout the entire complex. I'd only had one tourist the entire day, so to defeat boredom, I decided to take one of the surplus mannequins from the storeroom, dress them in some early convict ladies' garb, and set them up in the kitchen in the ladies' wing. I decided I would set them up facing away from the door, holding a bowl in one arm and an egg beater in the other. I made sure everything was very sturdy and closed the kitchen up for the night. The next morning I arrived at 6 a.m. to open up and was making my way through the complex when I heard something strange. The room I was in shared a wall with the kitchen's, and there was an odd, scraping noise coming from the other side of the wall. As I stood there listening in the dark, it stopped, started again, then intensified, accompanied by a tapping noise. Well, a little freaked out, I continued around the building. It was set up in a circular shape with rooms on the inside, making my way slowly towards the kitchens. As I stood outside the door, I could hear this irregular noise quite clearly and decided to use the sliding hatch on the door to look into the room first. I'll never forget what I saw. The mannequin was moving. Not just moving slightly, but quite visibly, tapping one foot up and down as it slowly turned the egg beater, its arm raising and lowering. As my eyes adjusted to the dark, my brain started to process what I was seeing. Whether possession or poltergeist, I was not sticking around for this thing to turn around. I slammed that hatch closed and hightailed it back the way I came, not stopping until I reached the main office, where I promptly bolted the door and turned on every light I could find. At around 10 a.m., we had our first tourist come through the doors. I'd convinced myself by this point that, sure, what I had seen had been some sort of hallucination. I must have heard the building settling and my brain filled in the rest. It was dark after all. Knowing I would have to open up the kitchen for the tourist to pass through, I hung the back in 5 minutes sign at the front desk and snuck quietly towards the kitchen door. I slowly opened the hatch and peered in to see the mannequin standing in the same position that I had left it, not moving. With everything back to normal, I breathed a very deep sigh of relief and opened the door. Big mistake. The second I opened the door, the mannequin began to mix the egg beater, frantically tapping its foot, and I've never been more terrified than at that moment. It was broad daylight. I couldn't convince myself nothing was happening this time. It was happening right in front of me. I was alone at the gaol with a possessed mannequin, and I was the only authority figure with an innocent member of the public soon to be coming through this very room. What in the heck was I supposed to do in this situation? I remember thinking it's only plaster and paper mache. Just kill it. Smash it quickly and run like heck and never come back. As I picked up a meat mallet and walked extremely hesitantly towards the thing, as I got closer, it began moving quicker until I was within reaching distance. Fully expecting this thing to turn around and bury the egg beater in my chest, I grabbed a hold of its arm only to have the mannequin erupt into a terrible croaking, hissing noise. I near lost it at this point, but something about the hissing sounded surprisingly familiar. Gaining some composure, I looked into the bowl of the mannequin was holding in its other arm, looking up at me. With its head stuck firmly between the beaters was a big lizard about 40 centimeters long. I took my hand off the mannequin's arm, and the lizard began to run. Stuck as it was, it ran around in circles in the bottom of the bowl, which turned the beater attached to the mannequin's arm, which proceeded to move up and down, causing the whole thing to vibrate, tapping its foot on the ground. 5 minutes later, I was letting the poor guy go under the courtyard, while still giggling hysterically to myself, and by the end of the day, that mannequin was packed up and back in storage just in case. That was by Life is Bizarre. Yeah, that's pretty strange. What are the odds a lizard would crawl into that bowl and turn that beater? Could it still be paranormal? Can things be controlled by spirits like lizards? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's a bit of a reach, but maybe. I don't know if I got time for this one. We got 4 minutes. I think maybe I could do it. Number 43, the screening process. I was living with a roommate in a house that she purchased. I had a habit of leaving my window open. It was the first floor, a safe neighborhood, or so I thought, and had a screen on my window. Something told me to close my window that day, and then a week later, I locked the window. That night, my roommate had just gotten home from a work trip. I was downstairs asleep when I heard a smack on my window, and then the whole window started wiggling. I turned the light on, ran upstairs to get a bat, which she didn't have anymore, and freaked out. We looked outside. Nothing. So I went back downstairs and tried to go back to sleep. It didn't happen. The next day we went out, my screen had been ripped off my window and thrown down behind the houses towards the main street. Within the week, we had a security system put in, but other than that, a couple of false alarms by my chihuahua, we were all good. 2 weeks later, we finally learned the chilling truth. A lady 2 streets down had been woken up by a man standing over her bed. He didn't hurt her. He left when she told him. He was like 6'6" tall or something, which was the right height for him to even attempt to get into my room. Even though I was on the first floor, it was still up high. Thank goodness they ended up catching him. That was by AK Sweetie for You. AK Sweetie for You. Hi, are you okay? You gonna make it? It's just a couple minutes, dude. Hang on. Be with you in a second. So there you go. Another not paranormal one, but that's still creepy. Again, the biggest monsters in our world, I think, are the human ones. It's it's pretty terrifying stuff, really. The things people are capable of. But most people, I believe, are good. Most people, I think, are just generally trying to get on with their world and get on with their life and handle things and do it not to be messed with and to be left alone and have friends or whatever. But some people are just broken. Some people just have holes in them. Holes in their soul. And it's absolutely terrifying, the things they do to try to fill those holes. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you do? Sounds like the movie The Tourist Trap. All right. We are going to go to the break, the last break of the night. It's about a minute and a half away, so we got a couple seconds here to run the gums. But again, please remember to check out the podcast if you would, please. I will tell you that Saturday, tomorrow night, will be the last show for a week. I do intend to live stream over the following week when I can, but I'm going to be busy. I got holiday plans going on, so there's not going to be regularly scheduled shows like you guys are used to, and I apologize for that, but it's just, I got an opportunity to be with my family for the holidays, so I got to take that. And I got to go spend time and see the people I love that I don't get to see near enough. So I hope you guys understand, and I just, hope you understand. But I will stream when I can. I will try to. He's such a kid. He's such a baby. It's okay, buddy. I'll be right with you. But just to let you know, don't watch for streams past Saturday. We'll do one tomorrow night. We will be live here tomorrow night for the Saturday show. But after that, just don't count on any regular streams. If you want to catch the live streams when they happen, please subscribe. Please ring the bell, and then you'll be notified when I do go live. I'd love to see you guys over the holidays. I'll try to do at least a bit of a stream on Christmas Day for those of you that are available, and talk to you guys and see how you're doing, and just, introduce you to the family. So always an opportunity, but we'll be right back after these messages, or for those of you on YouTube, this video. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
It's not that easy to pay the price.
ladies and gentlemen. Last half hour of the show. Last half hour of the show. Sorry. I got to move my lips when I speak. That's what shapes the words. As much as I knew what I was going to say and knew what I was trying to say. I was yeah. If I don't use my lips, the words don't sound right. All right, so we're in the last half hour of our journey here tonight on this Friday evening, and hope you guys are doing wonderful. Thank you all for tuning in and being a part of it. That means the world to me. And again, please hit the likes if you like what's going on here. If you enjoy the Paranormal Portal, it would make me enjoy moving up in the algorithm on YouTube. So, no pressure, mind you. You can do it. You can do what you like, but it certainly means a lot to me. So we are going to dive into some cryptids at this point. We're going into the cryptid corner, which is the last half hour of the live shows. We're going to talk about some creatures. The first one up is not really your normal kind of cryptid paranormal story at all, but it's strange. And so let's check it out. And to do that, we're going to go to Phantoms and Monsters, ladies and gentlemen. And this is Lon Strickler's site. It's been a pillar in the paranormal community forever. And it's a great location to check out. Thousands, probably over 1,000 stories of people encountering things and their experiences. Lon does a great job keeping the site really updated with new experiences people have had with several different phenomena, from Mothman to Dogman to Bigfoot to lots of everything in between. So, and you can also check out Lon's books that are, he's a many times published author of some incredible books. And it's also the home base for his podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. And you can check that out as well. So lots going on over there at phantomsandmonsters.com. But the first story I'm going to read to you is kind of a really strange one. And I saw this headline. I was like, what? This is unusual. I can't say I've ever heard of this before, but I don't know exactly what I'm looking at either. I haven't read it. So we're going to read it together. And this is the story. Bizarre bear vanishes after apparent gunshot strike by British Columbia hunter. That's freaky. Yeah, they don't usually disappear unless it was like inflatable. It's just gone. I don't know. Is there inflatable bears up in Canada? I don't think so. I don't think there's a lot of them if there is. But let's see what's going on. A British Columbia bear hunter describes an apparent kill shot that he observed on a bear he sighted less than 30 yards. He and his partner never find the carcass or blood, as if it just vanished. And here's the narrative. In 1999 in spring, I was black bear hunting with a buddy. We hunted for spring bears for about 10 years. Most years we would punch 2 tags each, and we enjoyed the sausage from the meats. My favorite is pepperoni and garlic oil. Okay. I don't know if that's relevant to the story, but that's nice to know. This was a sunny spring afternoon heading west on the Bear Road, east of Prince George, British Columbia. We see a tall, lanky black bear happily shuffling towards us on the right side of the road, and this animal had a beautiful dark chocolate, nearly black, long, shiny, healthy coat of hair, and a white star of hair on his chest. We stopped our vehicle and I got out. I got low and centered the crosshairs on the brisket. It was a perfect head-on shot at 30 yards or less. I used the 180 grain 300 Win Mag round. I saw the impact. The animal both turns to the ditch at the right and what does it say? Flips/rolls in the air, dropping out of sight. We both move in, and nothing. No bear. The forest road had an 18-inch high or greater berm on the edge, and dropped 4 to 5 feet to a marshy area that was heavily covered in the prickly low brush, which covered porous ice about 3 or 4 feet thick. The animal should have been right there in the ditch, dying or dead, and it was not. Not even a drop of blood. No tracks. There was a very clear view for about 100 yards around this spot. We were both experienced enough to know where it should be. but nothing. It was as though this thing evaporated into thin air. And I even checked the culvert, but it was an 18-inch pipe that was 2 2/3 full up with ice. 2 to 2/3 full up with ice. I called back to my buddy who found a tuft of hair on the road. It was unusual hair, and it even had a mix of white hair in it. There was no blood, no tracks. This bear had simply vanished. The hair confirmed to me that my shot hit its mark. I had practiced often in those days, including at point blank, and it seemed practical to me to do so. A shot and seemingly dead bear could jump up on you as you move in close. I even practiced turning the rifle sideways to sight alongside the barrel for accurate close-up shots. This practice was recommended to me by a friend who was a professional guide for his dad's outfit. The entire event was unusual. The bear did seem oblivious to our approach. It also seemed to be happily shuffling a long leg. If a bear could skip and hop like a kid does, the back of it was easily 4 to 5 feet off the ground. Really? That's a huge, huge bear. I would like to hear your response. And this is actually transcribed source, the Facts by How to Hunt, which is Steve Isdall's site. Note, according to the description of the bear's demeanor, is it possible that this may have been a time slip or interdimensional scenario? Was the hunter peeking into another dimension of reality where the bear actually existed? He described seeing the bear reacting to the gunshot strike. If it was in another dimension, there should not have been a visual reaction by the bear or evidence of hair. Did the bear somehow enter into another dimension after receiving the gunshot? Very bizarre encounter. Your thoughts? And that was signed by Lon. I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. That's very strange. Jeez. A whole bear just disappeared. They bared no fruit. That was no fruit. No fruit was bared. The humor's free. You get that free of charge. All right. Let's go to the next one from phantomsandmonsters.com. And this is from December 8th, 2022, again from Phantoms and Monsters. Numerous Bigfoot incidents recalled by Virginia Appalachia resident. Numerous. There's no doubt that the Appalachian and the Smoky Mountains have a lot of activity over there. It's probably just about as active as anywhere else, really. I don't know what the population density is in these regions. So, you get claims by the BFRO, like, oh, well, California is where so much of the sightings come from, as is Washington State, and then Florida. But those are all very populated states. There's lots of people in them. Washington has a lot of dead areas as far as there's whole areas without much people, but people are pretty well spattered throughout the state and along forests and stuff. So it doesn't surprise me there's a lot of sightings, but I don't know about the density of the things like the Appalachians and stuff, if it's protected land or what, or if there aren't a lot of people other than the occasional hikers that do the Appalachian Trail. But it's hard to say. Sometimes those statistics are misleading because you don't know, is that due to population density, that there's just no one there to see and report it? Or is it also that people see it but don't report it, which I think is a lot of it, but it's hard to say. All right, anyway, let's see what these stories are. A Southwest Virginia woman describes her various encounters with Bigfoot over several decades. There were incidental sightings and a few more that were scary. And this was recently forwarded to Lon, and this is dated what again? December 8th, so it's not that long ago. I live in Southwest Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains. When I was younger, I ran through the fields and the woods at will. But once darkness set in, I would not even go near the edge of the woods. At that time, we had troublesome neighbors. One night, while I lay in bed with the window open, I heard bizarre laughter and commotion coming down the mountainside. It passed down through the valley, and I'm laying there, terrified. Then I hear what sounds like someone talking or taking a hammer to a watermelon right outside my window. Well, I refuse to look outside because I have no idea what it was. I don't think I slept at all that night. Again, is that enough to say it's Bigfoot activity? Well, maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say. Another strange incident occurred early in my marriage to my first husband. There were 6 of us that would hang out together. My brother and his girlfriend and his best friend and his girlfriend would hang out with us. On this particular day, we were going to meet at one of the 2 local campgrounds in the George Washington National Forest to hang out and around a campfire and drink, and generally just having a good time. On our way on the road to the camping area, we drove through one campground and we didn't see anyone. So we headed further up the mountain to the other campground, only to find that they were not there either. Well, we sat for a few minutes trying to decide which campground to hang out in while we were waiting for them to show. Soon, we heard a crashing sound coming towards us through the woods. I got to think that that would be about the most horrible sound. Something is crashing through the brush coming towards you. I mean, if that's not an instant adrenaline response, then I don't know what is. But you don't know what it is, but you know it's big enough to crash through the forest. Oftentimes people say it sounds like somebody who's driving a truck through the forest. Like they're that loud and explosive as they crash through the thick brush. It's just amazing. It was coming closer and getting louder and more violent. We decided that it might be best for us to leave not knowing what to expect. But in order to get out of the campground, we had to go back to where the crash was coming from. Oh, no. Hey, Andrea. Good to see you. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. This campground was higher than the road, and as we made our way down, I looked behind us right as my husband stopped. I thought I saw something. I even thought it was following us, and my husband put on the brakes again. I couldn't see the gravel road. All I could make out was a furry torso. I yelled that something is following us, so my husband floored it, and we go fishtailing down the gravel road in a Chevy Camaro with whatever this thing was right on our bumper. I don't remember how long it followed us, but my memory says 1 minute is the amount of time that it was right behind us, and then the next minute, it was gone. I don't think we ever went back up there after dark. Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you're right. Stay away. Excuse me. Hold on. Sorry. The next incident is one that really creeped me out, as if the other one didn't. I think they all creep me out. First, I'll give you a little story of history of the road I live on. It follows a rather large creek that was once a railroad. The original road runs along the opposite side of the creek and crisscrosses back and forth across the creek. One section of the old dirt road is called Red Banks because it's red clay. Cliff that rises up from the creek and the road runs along the top of this clay bank. During the 1950s, a man supposedly ran his wife off the road in her car at that spot, and her body was never recovered. My brother claims that on certain nights you can hear her scream. I always thought it was a legend until one day during a break at the factory I worked at, an elderly man walked up to me and commented that he heard that I was from so-and-so county and proceeded to tell me about his daughter being murdered by her husband at the Red Banks in the 1950s. This is in 1993. Ooh. Jump forward to about 8 years ago, and this road is closed to traffic because the bank has collapsed again, taking half the road with it. My son and I decided that this is a good place to take walks. Really? The closed section is surrounded by woods on both sides, and there are no houses. One particular day, I decided to walk by myself. I passed the last of the houses, and I slipped through the barriers and out of the bushes. My sudden appearance startled something, and it took off running up the hill, but I didn't see anything. There was no movement, but its footfalls were bipedal as it ran up the hill through the dry leaves. I was standing there frantically searching for any movement, and I saw none. The hair rose up on the back of my neck, and I got goosebumps. Needless to say, I turned back, and I never walked through there again. Not long after that, we moved about 3 miles up the road to an area that's more remote. The house is surrounded on all sides by mountains and literally sits in a valley. You can turn a full circle and see nothing but woods towering over the house. One day, my youngest son and I had gone to visit my parents and stayed past dark. We parked at the garage, which is about 50 feet from the house and closer to the road. When we exited the car, we could hear crashing in the woods on the other side of the road. I stopped to see if any deer would appear. The crashing got louder, and you could hear tree branches cracking. I remember thinking, that's not a deer. Maybe it's a bear. The longer we stood there, the more violent the sounds became, and I realized that whatever it was going in circles. I immediately got a mental image of a Bigfoot. I looked at my son, and I commented that maybe we shouldn't just stand there, and he took off running. I yelled for him to wait for me, and I took off after him. There have been other incidents over the years, and I swear that I saw a big face looking through a window on 3 occasions. Regardless of what anyone says, Bigfoot live here. That was by K. That's pretty crazy. Huh. Yes, they live there, I'm sure. I'm sure they do. Too many claims coming out of those areas for it to be nothing. That is really freaky. Okay, we got one more. This one's kind of UFO-y. Was the Skinny Bob alien video recording authentic? Skinny Bob. This is, when was this from? December 14th, so a little more recent. It says, an interesting video showed up on YouTube in 2011. The conglomeration of leaked videos apparently shows an alien being interrogated by some government agency, possibly the KGB. There have been a large number of debunkers, but discussions are still open today on the authenticity of these videos. I'm going to put a link in the chat if anybody wants to check out these videos for themselves. I'll link the article here in the chat so that you guys can check it out if you so choose. But put one over here on TFR as well, and you can check it out. The Skinny Bob video is there. It says, an alien that looks very much like a typical gray type entity is being interviewed and examined, supposedly as some part of a diplomatic exchange. The creature is described as being from Zeta Reticuli star system, sent as part of an envoy to discuss matters of mutual concern. According to the videos, the aliens would be escorted by special officers and only meet with high-ranking officials. Although several aliens are claimed to have been present, the one most prominently features is one with the nickname Skinny Bob, which would become a viral sensation with the appearance and spark much debate within the UFO community. The alien itself appears as a very thin, slouched-over figure with an oversized bald head, slit-like mouth, large eyes that seem expressive, and blink, and supposedly claw-like hands, although we never get a good look at its hands in the videos. There was apparently a whole series of interviews conducted with the creature from the years between 1942 and 1969, although only a few clips have managed to get leaked out. The most well-known clip simply shows Skinny Bob sitting at a table, apparently in a telepathic interview, after which we see footage of the alien from the head to toe, showing its disproportionately long arms and freakish build. After that, there is a shot of it allegedly within a pool of some sort of liquid where it would supposedly sleep. According to the videos, the aliens were often filmed without their knowledge or agreement, with one document 072/E supposedly describing an incident in 1961 in which 3 of these beings realized that they were being secretly filmed by a hidden device, which is considered a violation of their agreement. There was supposedly a treaty that stipulated that photographs and filming of the entities would not be allowed unless specific permission was given. While these two clips are the most well-known and widely available, there are allegedly other clips that since have been taken down, such as that of an alien spacecraft and another of an autopsy being performed on a dead specimen at the base. As soon as these clips were released, there was immediate debate as to their authenticity. Arguments over the video have gone both ways, with some convinced it is real, while others point out that it's obviously a hoax, and much analysis is being done on the footage. Was this CGI, animatronics, or the real deal? One special effects guy by the name of Ben Phillips offered up his own thoughts on the footage by saying the following words. If Skinny Bob was faked, he's either an animatronic puppet or CGI or a blend of the both. If it's digital, then it's outstanding, and the creator was a professional. If it's digital, then it wasn't keyframed animation, but motion capture. If it was motion capture, then it would need a studio setup. A studio setup means money and more people. If it was a puppet, then it's not only a stunning design, but the puppet here was top of the pile. The way he shifts his stance and looks down when he's having his height measured is beautifully done, and one of the reasons why it is a computer-generated character. If it was a computer-generated character, it was done using motion capture and not keyframe animated. I'm not saying it isn't faked. I am proposing that if it was, then it was done by a multidisciplinary team of effects professionals. They spent a lot of time and money building physical models or extremely short clips that weren't even the main subject matter of the video. Skinny Bob, if faked, none of those involved have broken their silence since May 2011 to lay claim to their work. That's an interesting point. Other VFX experts also examine the footage but are not so sure. It's been pointed out that the frame rate seems off and that there have been arguments over whether it was 16mm footage or not, and simply that the aliens look fake with the fake sounding camera clicking sound overlaid over it. However, even for skeptics, the mystery remains. It seems like it would have cost quite a lot to make these videos, yet no one has really tried to make any money off of them. It had also been suggested that it was some sort of viral marketing for a science fiction film, but if that's the case, then for what film? These clips were released back in 2011, and yet there has been no movie that they have made that they have been connected to, and no one has admitted to making them. Also, no one knows what the mysterious Ivan0135 YouTube channel is. They've never given up their identity and have sort of dropped off the radar. One Redditor user, Jamesy Esquire, has given a pretty good summation of these points as follows. Boy, that's a big point. I got 2 minutes. In terms of this being real, there are numerous red flags. The camera clicking sound seems to have been added on over the top of the footage. Overall, it just feels too good to be true. Now, the problem is this. Many CGI experts and those in the movie industry have studied the footage, and most agree that if fake, it's work of a studio with a big budget. I would estimate, especially in 2011, for a studio to produce something of this quality, you're looking at a budget approaching $250,000. To my knowledge, the video has not been monetized. Nobody is making money off of this, and no studio has ever come forward to claim it. If this was a viral video for an upcoming movie, we would know about it by now. The footage was released in 2011, and again, I don't want this to descend into a real or not argument. The mystery to me is why? Who made this? Who had the money to make this for seemingly no benefit? I'd love to hear the thoughts of people who work in the movie industry in special effects. What kind of budget or setup are we looking at to make this footage in 2011? Are there examples of homemade CGI from 10 years ago that look as good as this? Is it even CGI? Is it animatronic? Again, if so, who made it? The videos have been largely judged to have been a hoax, but we are still left with some mysteries. Who made them and why? And why is it that they went through so much effort to pull this off? Who is the mystery poster of these clips? And where did they go? To this day, no one has claimed responsibility for the videos, which has only further caused believers to insist that they are real. Hoax or not, the Skinny Bob videos always raise many questions about how difficult it will be to ever get any photographic evidence accept it as real, and especially when it's posted publicly on the internet. What are your thoughts on the Skinny Bob recording? I don't know. I've seen it a number of times over the years, and I don't know. It is perplexing, to say the least. But it's also perplexing that we're out of time, folks. We made it to the end of the show. So once again, thank you all for tuning in, and please continue to tune in. We'll be back tomorrow night. Sheldon will be joining me 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern for Saturday's Paranormal Portal. Watch the Discord for the question of the week for tomorrow night's show. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody.